better than I expected, didn't it? Just bring some of those up here.
Well, some of them.
Do they have, you can set them here, over here somewhere. Do you
Well,
have, any of them have names?
Chad's does. And then the rest of his guys, I guess.
They have the sizes.
Yeah.
Okay, we got
This is
Chad,
Chad.
we got Lard, and then there's
Hold that shirt up. Let people see that shirt, but I want you to ask
here.
the commissioner, what's on his shirt? Tell him just to whisper to you, doesn't have to say it loud.
We have two, yeah, large, extra large, 2X.
And I want a cap.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
I wonder if Representative Carol Miller's in this room right now.
She's in the hallway.
We'll get her in here. Hey, Chad, come up right up here so I can just talk to you a second. See that bag we got? Yep. Some of those others, see that, it says, what's it say?
We got large, 2XLs, and a
You know which
2.
one your people are that? They do?
You're good.
Well, where do you want me?
The mayor.
Well, but I've got more of them.
Well,
But
just
make
a
sure you
second.
get Dennis and whoever you. There's 2 or 3 other guys with you, so don't, make sure that you
If you want.
then go ahead and take ones for your people. You can want to set them off, so you can get another bed.
You need to make another 2. You sure?
Thank you, Chair.
I gave you.
Give Carol Melner. If you, I don't know whether we can we get
Yeah. Carol.
Carol back through here? Can we get her?
You want me, which, Carol 1 or Carol 2?
I think he wants the blonde Carol.
The answer to or the one that,
I want the one in the, I want that one.
okay.
Right here.
Forgot again, Carol.
We got Dennis James back here, right?
Yeah, he's here.
Carol, my Carol.
Yeah.
Tammy, from the, does the commissioner have a bottle of that wine I made last night?
Not yet.
Could somebody give him one? And bring Carol Miller one, and Randy Dammer one, and Dennis James one, and now, if you don't like wine, just sell it to somebody.
You made it last night.
But, well, I just said I made it last night.
Well, okay.
But it is made locally. We have a winery right here in town, and they're just super great. And lucky to have it. Kind of a
Yes.
destination right
Yes,
downtown.
that's good.
There's a couple of different flavors. You can have dark or white, or
Red or white? Red. 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 Here we go. Who's that supposed to give on? Carol.
Red if you got one, if you don't, that's okay.
and then
There you go.
Randy Dameron, and then
Okay.
Dennis is back here.
Okay.
Give Chad one, and then, where's Jamie Smith at? Did he leave the room? We'll go out there and find him.
It's easy, well, it's not really easy to find, but it's more.
Tammy announced out there, Justin Smith was in here just a minute ago. He can't be very far.
And then look at the website. They do, they do metal and that, they do metal order and all that, but they can show how that works exactly. I know they get a lot of advertising.
There's probably people that know wineries.
I think they do, I think they do.
What is it? I'm not getting a shirt though. I got my shirt.
You're talking about wine. You want red wine or white
Oh,
wine?
oh, red.
I think they're selling more red today.
We'll find him. Randy, after a bit, don't forget to take a shirt home with you.
Take my shirt off?
No, take a shirt home with you.
Don't want this shirt out.
Don't take the shirt.
Take a shirt home, okay. Added this to the wine, Mayor.
Charlie, thanks Charlie for everything you do.
Bring a bottle of wine, take the
Nice
shirt
seeing
off.
you again.
You didn't know this was one there, did you?
Had no idea.
I'll be really,
Then the shirt was really cool.
I'll be really pretty quick because it gets warm in here with lots of people in here. But we did 3 proclamations. We could do 10. The first one I think's Dennis. And
You still here?
Dennis kind of stayed and hid all the time over there. He put Chad, bless Chad's heart again, that had to deal with me through all this. But this is a proclamation, and I'll have my wife Carol read this. And we want you to take this and keep it.
Whereas Colonel Ruby Bradley, a dedicated United States Army Nurse Corps officer, a prisoner of the Japanese in World War II, one of the most decorated women in the United States military, and a native of Spencer, West Virginia. Whereas this day we rededicate the bridge located on Route 33 East in Spencer, West Virginia, the Colonel Ruby Bradley Bridge, June 5th, 2023. Whereas the goal of this project was to build a stronger foundation for a better future for those here and now and generations to follow. Whereas the Mayor of Spencer, and on behalf of all of our citizens, we wish to recognize Rock Forge Bridge Company, Genis James, Contract Administrator, for his leadership and innovation in the jacking technique to slide the bridge, which put Ruby on the move on January 22nd, 2023. Now therefore, I, Terry A. Williams, Mayor of the City of Spencer, on behalf of the City Council and the residents of Spencer, West Virginia, do hereby proclaim and rededicate the bridge in honor of Ruby Bradley as the Ruby Bradley Memorial Bridge. In witness thereof, I do hereby set my hand and seal this 5th day of June, 2023.
You guys come up here, so I'm kind of between you back here like a godfather. And Tracy can come over here and get a picture.
Yeah.
And if you want to, shake hands. Yeah, that's good.
1, 2, 3.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Dennis. Thank you.
This on behalf of all the employees.
Well, you guys done a great job. Okay. We have another one. We'll follow the same routine.
I don't want to lose my wife.
Careful with the cords.
I swear I won't steal it.
Carol, be careful.
Yes. Whereas Colonel Ruby Bradley, a dedicated United States Army Nurse Corps officer, a prisoner of the Japanese in World War II, one of the most decorated women in the United States military, and a native of Spencer, West Virginia. Whereas this day we rededicate the bridge located on Route 33 East in Spencer, West Virginia, the Colonel Ruby Bradley, that's a mouthful, Ruby Bradley Bridge, June 5th, 2023. Whereas the goal of this project was to build a stronger foundation for a better future for those here and now and generations to follow. Whereas the Mayor of Spencer and its citizens take this opportunity to recognize Congresswoman Carol Miller for all the interest shown during the construction of this project. Now therefore, I, Terry A. Williams, Mayor of the City of Spencer, on behalf of the City Council and the residents of Spencer, West Virginia, do hereby proclaim and rededicate the bridge in honor of Ruby Bradley as the Ruby Bradley Memorial Bridge. In witness thereof, I do hereby set my hand and seal this 5th day of June, 2023.
Now just open up a little bit.
Get in the picture.
Okay. Got it?
Great.
Congratulations.
Thank you so
We
much.
really appreciate you.
I'll be back.
We'll be back, yeah.
Get out of the
This
way.
person here
Thanks, Colonel.
has told me they may move here because of me being up here, so that they can work closer to me. This is to the Secretary of Transportation, Jimmy Riston, who's one wonderful guy.
Whereas Colonel Ruby Bradley, a dedicated United States Army Nurse Corps officer, a prisoner of the Japanese in World War II, and one of the most decorated women in the United States military, and a native of Spencer, West Virginia. Whereas this day we rededicate the bridge located on Route 33 East in Spencer, West Virginia, the Colonel Ruby Bradley Bridge, June 5th, 2023. Whereas the goal of this project was to build a stronger foundation for a better future for those here and now and generations to follow. Whereas, as the City of Spencer does hereby recognize Jimmy Riston, Secretary of the West Virginia Department of Transportation, for his support, his excitement, and promotion of this project. Now therefore, I, Terry A. Williams, Mayor of the City of Spencer, on behalf of the City Council and the residents of Spencer, West Virginia, do hereby proclaim and rededicate the bridge in honor of Ruby Bradley as the Ruby Bradley Memorial Bridge. In witness thereof, I do hereby set my hand and seal this 5th day of June, 2023.
On behalf of the great 36th Governor of the state of West Virginia, I accept this, and also on behalf of the best DOT department in the country.
Thank you, thanks a lot. Pleasure. We want you to just have a good time and mingle, and if you haven't eaten cake, do eat cake. If you have questions for Becky back here, who's portrayed Ruby Bradley many times, she'd be glad to answer them for you. We just appreciate you being here. It's just been a super day. It's just been a wonderful event. We'll never be able to do a better job than this one. Thank you very much. Well, we could.
Oh, yeah. I'll be in DC later. It's a busy day. Yeah, well, I'm driving there.
Yeah, head in front.
Gotcha. I like this shirt.
Thanks for all you do.
Everything going all right?
We never been fun the other as far as I know. I started, I've been for a conference. Yeah. Never been fun.
Just report back to my office. Maybe he'll show up. I got his cell phone.
Where she ran off to.
I'm parked down here. Okay. Yeah, I parked down here and walked. Thanks, Robin. Thank you, Ryan. Glad I could get you to the tight spot. Yeah.
Maybe we'll zoom it out. Yeah, we'll zoom it out a bit. Awesome, perfect. All right, where am I wired now? little too
All
loud.
right, ladies and gentlemen, we're here with Chad Tingler from Rock Forge Bridge Company, the project manager on the Ruby Bradley Memorial Bridge. Chad, thank you so much for joining us here. It's been a wonderful, wonderful day here in Spencer, West Virginia. Let's talk about this. When this project lands on your desk,
Right.
what are the thought processes that go to the beginning of this whole thing for you?
Well, this project is a unique one because it's a design-build project, so we were responsible for the design and everything in between. So the state gives us some conceptions, like 7 of them. We pick this one we want to go with, and we have to do the design and everything. That's after bid. So it's very stressful, demanding to come in on that budget. You know, it's a $5.2 million job, so it's been a non-stop process since September of 2020 to get where we're at today.
Now, to be able to stay on budget, that's an impressive deal. But to do it the way
Very
you
much
guys
so.
did, the way you guys made this work so well, so efficiently, is that something that that is normal in this big of a construction site, or is it something that's kind of abnormal?
I would say this one went really well, and that's all due to the planning. I mean, we looked at it and we took it very seriously, and we knew the traffic was a huge issue out here, 13,000 something vehicles a day. So that was one of the major things that led me to go to the slide, because it had the least impact on the public. Any other direction, we would have had a lot of trouble. We probably wouldn't be here today, maybe 3 or 4 months from now, right? So that helped us tremendously.
Well,
the slide.
it was an incredible engineering feat, number one. Am I correct that this was the first slide that you guys had attempted?
Yes, very first. So yeah, leading up to the slide, like everything that we did, we thought that was going to be one of the harder parts, right? But it actually turned out to be one of the more simple things once we got started. Of course, there was all the pressure. We'd worked for 2 years almost to get to that point. So, but it went really, really well. We made some adjustments after the first night that sped it up with our jacking process, but overall, it went really, really well. I'd love to do it again.
Yeah, well, we certainly appreciated the access that we had to you guys the night of the slide. Yeah. We were able to talk to some people in your crew, and they were able to tell us about what was going on from night 1 to night 2 and why things were fixed the way they were. Mm-hmm. Is that something is it a contingency that you plan on, or is it something that's by the seat of your pants, kind of?
By the seat of your pants. You like to say you plan for all that stuff, but no, you don't. You sometimes you expect the worst, though, right? And you have a plan B, yeah, we just roll with it. Make adjustments.
How much did weather play a part in the construction throughout the 2-year process?
It's something we've dealt with my whole career. All these guys, Denny, the foreman out there, he's been doing it for 40-some years. He's seen everything. So to have him on this job was very important, and take some of those elements out of it, because he knows how to handle it. Obviously, it affects your concrete, affects a lot of things, but it's something we've worked through.
Well, obviously, the 2 nights that we spent up watching this whole bridge take place, the movement at least,
right.
that's just the final process in the big 2-year plan.
Right.
We were trying to give love to your crew during those 2 nights,
right.
because without the crew that you guys have, without the workers that you guys have,
Absolutely.
this does not happen. Right?
That's exactly right, and then it's great that they get some appreciation. Getting Denny out here today in front of everybody, that meant a lot for me. I know it does for him. So the guys, they're the biggest part of this. They make it work.
Well, Chad, we thank you so much for being a part of this community now forevermore, and thank you for the hard work that your company did.
No problem.
Well, Drew, I've got one quick question. The big question, the $100 question.
Okay. Hope I can answer it.
Yeah. When was the aha moment on the Dawn dishwashing set?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. It had been brought up to me before, and I actually went and watched another slide from another contractor in Kentucky, and they recommended using it, and I watched it in action. I'm like, okay, well, it makes sense. I mean, it makes stuff very slick. So we're talking about a coefficient of friction here. Let's break the friction down. So we went with Dawn. All of it.
That was we were trying to make predictions as to how it was moving. We were thinking of all sorts of high-tech scientific lubricants and stuff like that, and somebody beamed us up and said, no, it's just Dawn distillate.
Pretty much. We had some slide plates under there that had a Teflon coating, vulcanized to it, that helped slick it up a little bit, but Dawn was a big part of it.
Well, Chad, thank you guys so much for what you've done for this community, and thank you for the quick interview. Yes.
Yep. And I want to take the time to thank the mayor, Rob Miller. Those guys were great to work with. Yeah. I mean, absolutely great. So,
well, thank you very much, Chad. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
Not a problem. Thank you guys.
Yeah. Thank you.
Nice meeting you. Yep.
Thank you.
Best thing I've ever heard in my life.
Yes, sir.
Just imagine. Didn't that come out good?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
think that one's you.
You didn't need me, did you?
Yes, we want you right now. If that's, or do you have to go?
No, I was
Okay.
just wondering what I'm supposed to do next.
It's very simple. Put this on.
You can ask me about Ruby.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Get those t-shirts on, ladies. He's coming here like a shirt.
Test.
Yes. All right, step back just a couple of steps right
No,
there.
why are we filming?
We are putting this on YouTube, our
okay.
YouTube channel, and it's Becky Bolte Parks, right? Park.
Yes.
I looked down on it the first time. Becky, we're very happy to be joined by you, and you are clad in a nice regalia here. And let's talk about this. You have played Ruby Bradley.
Correct.
When did this whole thing begin for you?
Well, it began right here in Spencer because I got interested in portraying another person that lived in Spencer, and that's Sudna Carpenter Tanner. And so from 1812, telling her story where they lived under the rock ledge over there by the ball field, that went over really, really well. We did it for a lot of school kids and stuff. And Teresa Parker was involved in that and real supportive. And she looked at me one day and she said, somebody needs to tell the story of Colonel Ruby Bradley. And I really wanted Teresa Parker to tell the story, and she was so involved with so much in the community, with church and teaching school and everything, that she wanted me to see if I could take it on. Well, I applied with the West Virginia Humanities Council's program called History Alive, and they loved the idea. I recognized the value immediately that this story of this woman from Spencer, West Virginia, serving the U.S. Army around the world and having these, incredible experiences needed to be told. And so that was in 2003.
2003 is
Been
when
doing
you
it for 20 years.
And I think about this. Although Ruby Bradley, the name is famous here in Spencer and in Roane County, without you being able to go around and tell this story and portray this woman, stories get lost in different places. People may not know about Ruby Bradley in the outlying areas or in the other states that are around us. So the ability for you to go tell that story, how does that happen? How do you do these portrayals?
Well, as long as her character is part of the West Virginia Humanities Council, then we get a good bit of contact from libraries, DARs, Rotary clubs, any civic organization or school. I love doing schools. I have a whole different program for young kids. They contact me either through the Humanities Council or they Google me and find me online. And then, they set up the date and then they contact the Humanities Council to get help with the funding. So that's been very popular character since she got re-added to their roster 2 years ago. And I've been all over the state. I do about 20 a year. And I think people do find this story really fascinating. What I found interesting was here in Spencer, when I started to study her character, people knew the name, just like you said. And some people said nurse, Army nurse. Some people said the Philippines, prisoner of war, and that's as deep as it went. And so there has been a resurgence of interest in exactly what her career was like and who she was as a person.
Yeah, speaking of that, we know as a Roane County, she's a Roane County, and do you go deeper into her life, farther back into her life? Is it mostly her military career, or do you just go start to finish with this?
Well, it depends on how much time we have, Andrew. But I do like to have the opportunity to, first of all, when I'm speaking like at the high school, I'll say, let's imagine we get in a school bus and we turn at the bridge there near the primary center and we head out toward Clover Ridge, but we don't go up on Clover Ridge. And if I've got old timers there, I say, where the old bar called the Double Nickel used to be? You're going to hang it right there and go up Vandal Fork, up to what's called Walnut Hills. If you see the topo maps, it says they lived at Walnut Hills. We don't use that term anymore, but that's where she grew up with her 5 siblings and mom and dad. The schoolhouse was right across the dirt road called Long Sought School. They went to Liberty Methodist right up and Liberty Methodist, the little white church, is still up there. And so that's where she grew up, and all of them went through 8th grade school. And all of the Bradleys graduated high school. Now, that was in a time when, come wintertime, mud season started. And people didn't come in and out of town every day.
It was not easy
No,
at that point.
it was impossible. They didn't have school buses until 1926. That's when she graduated high school. So she would have to board in southern West Virginia. She went 2 years to Clinton in high school. Then she boarded in Spencer with her sister, who was grown and married at that point. And she did graduate from Spencer High School in 1926. She was elected the most literary, and she did edit the yearbook. And I always like to have an audience and say, and who knows what the name of the yearbook was?
Oh, yes, we do. We know what the name of the yearbook
And it is what, Andy?
The Rupicula. Yeah.
The Rupicula. Right.
I hope I said that right.
Yes.
Rupicula. And so she graduates from high school, immediately enters the military, or what? How's that?
No, and that's another point of interest, because there are people in Spencer that remember this because they experienced it. She had been taking courses through Glenville State College for Teachers, called Normal School, and that meant they were training teachers at ages 16 and 17. She sat for an exam. She got a grade A certification to become a teacher right away. And she taught for 5 years at Longsot School, Mud Fork School, Leaning Oak School. But her little sister Sally had become an Army nurse. Sally had a lot of gumption. I've seen her on a video where she just had an outgoing personality, and she went to Walter Reed Hospital and trained as an Army nurse, and that's how Ruby got the idea that that's what she wanted to do. But she was a school teacher in one-room schoolhouses for 5 years. Again, she had to board with people. Leaning Oak is out where the Fettys live.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Mud Fork is kind of across the hill from where Ruby lived and where Longsot School was. But they would have to board really close to those schools because why? In the winter, the roads went to mud.
Well, they called it Mud Fork for
Right.
I'm assuming so.
You got that right.
So she enters the military, and then the part that's famous to everybody is her military career. Obviously, well, it's famous to a lot of people around here, but that is the impetus for where we are here today. Obviously. Really neat that you do this. I think it's really cool that you do this. You keep the spirit of Ruby Bradley alive. My one question is, did you ever have a chance to meet her before she passed?
I did, and I'm so glad that I did, because I couldn't see at that point that I would be, wearing a uniform just like hers and telling her story. But when I lived here and raised my kids as Becky Bolte, I was a Girl Scout leader, but I was also involved in the Boy Scouts. And so we celebrated Veterans Day one year down in the community building, and we decided we were going to honor Ruby Bradley. And at that point, she lived over here above City Park in a care home. And so we asked that she be brought down. And she was just within a few years of the very end of her life. But they brought her down. She looked great. She was done up. She had on a red sweater. She was in a wheelchair. And as she came through the door, Carol Christensen and I looked at each other and said, somebody's got to ask her questions. So they put a microphone in my hand, and I asked her questions based on the book I had read, We Band of Angels, which is excellent, by Dr. Elizabeth Norman. And so I was asking her and trying to draw out, everybody wants to hear how horrible it was when they were POWs. I mean, they were literally starved to death. And none of the nurses died, but the civilians did. A lot of them died from starving. And so, I'm trying to draw out these horrible stories, and she wouldn't go there. And she wanted to talk about when the babies were born in prison camp and what joy went throughout the camp over a new life, or liberation when they finally got to see the Army guys again that they had wanted to serve for 3 years and couldn't, And that's when it really came together for me what her character was. And all the nurses that served through that, they kept focused on what they could do and were positive about it. And none of them suffered the mental problems that the other POWs suffered, the depression of having your life just completely upended and nothing you can do. They had their work before them, and it really saved them mentally. But yeah, in that one meeting with her, and me trying to get her to talk about really horrible things, all she wanted to talk about was the good stuff.
Well, that's a good thing to have. I'm glad you were able to meet her with that. What is the next step for you? What's your next performance, if you will?
Oh, for Colonel Ruby Bradley? I think I'll be in Glenville in June. I wish that I had consulted my calendar before you asked me that. But they do publicize when I'm going to be available to the public, and I would love for people to call me up and say, can we fit you in? And, you know, we could talk about dates and stuff, because everybody loves the story, and I tailor it to whether it's a young audience who needs to understand, when was World War II? What war is that? Is that the same as the Civil War? and the folks that, you know, you ask them when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor, and they know right off the bat, you know. So, yeah, if people just want to find me online and give me a call, we'll work something out.
Well, Becky Bolte Park, thank you very, very much. Continue to tell the story of Ruby Bradley.
Thank you, Andrew Miller.
All right, Joe. I think we've done a good job today. What do you
I
think?
believe so.
All right.
Do you want me to see if we can grab the mayor real quick for a quick couple of words?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
We can get it. You are good to go. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Remind me who you are. I'm
Joe McDonald.
McDonald.
Yes.
And your brother's name is?
Sister.
Okay.
My sister was Heather. She went.
Heather.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Heather and Joe.
Yes.
Like I can see you.
Yeah.
I can see the kid in your face. You know,
yeah,
like.
Yeah. It's been a day or two.
And your mom?
Liz.
How's she doing?
She's doing great.
Good. Well, tell her I said hi.
I sure will.
Thank you.
All right.
Where's the charging cable at, Drew? And I'll go grab
It's out in the truck.
Okay. Well, or is that it right?
No, that's for the other thing.
You want me to run and go get it?
It's not blinking yet.
Okay. Well, that's a good sign. Okay. Check, check. There we go. Now I can hear myself. So, Drew, we have completed the mission from start to end.
We have covered the gamut.
Can I sit down?
Yeah, if you'd like to. Come on over.
It's your office, sir.
As long as, yeah. we're invading your space.
I've been a little bit under WEATHE weather.
And just a little bit busy today.
Yeah, just a little busy on top of that today. Mayor Williams, very thankful that you were able to come back here. We almost missed you here today. What a day. You said this in your remarks just before we got started with this stuff. You said, what a day for Spencer, West Virginia.
Well, it sure is. I mean, you know, this bridge project's been talked about for years. I probably have notes and memos and meetings from 2002 the other day. I ran onto a packet. So that was 21 years ago. But it just, you know, you work on those things and you get them to a certain point, but the demand for fixing bridges is big. So the road project that the governor has, we were included in on that, and that probably got us through the hump. And it's a super bridge. I mean, it's so much bigger and nicer and prettier and opens up your town both directions, and it's just a wonderful thing to have in downtown Spencer.
Yeah, we couldn't believe it. You know, the whole time it's being built, there's always barracks put up, so you just couldn't get the scope of how big this thing really is.
That's exactly right. I mean, even when I'm out there on it today, there was a time or two I wasn't sure if I was in the right lane or not. And I know the people in the other lane weren't sure either. And but you know, it does handle a lot of traffic. You know, there's thousands of cars a day that go east and west there at that intersection, and we're growing. We got more traffic coming. you got to have that piece of the puzzle to make other pieces of the puzzle fit. And and it was great to have the Representative Carol Meller here. Super great to have the Secretary of Transportation here, and he and I have talked a lot lately, and he's just a good person to deal with on highway projects in your county, no matter where they're at. And we have our issues just like any other community.
The most good.
Yeah.
Well, we were able to talk to Chad Tingler, the project manager from Rock Forge Bridge Company. What a group!
They are, and I'll tell you, when they 2 years ago, he was my go-to guy when we had a meeting right here in this room, and they brought me a rendering of what the bridge might look like when it was finished, and gave me his cell phone number, and he took mine, and I thought then, boy, do you have giving me your cell phone is a big deal. And I thought they were just dumping on him, to tell you the truth. And, we talk morning, evening, night, and midnights, and, but gosh, what a super group and what a super person to work with. And I'll tell you, the bridge project wasn't any negative to us almost on anything. I mean, I can't tell you, you could count the times that I had calls about traffic on one hand. I mean, just wasn't there.
Yeah, that's the amazing thing to me when I mentioned it to him. I said to stay on budget, to stay on time, to have such little impact during the construction is just unheard of.
Yeah, if there's ever a way to do a project that's like this type of project in the middle of anybody's downtown, this has to be a model to do.
Yeah, Chad said he would love to go. He can't wait to do another one, by the way.
Oh yeah. I'm telling you, it was just a great project. I mean, and it's really means a lot to our community.
It absolutely does, Mayor. Thank you so much for number one inviting us to this day, because we wanted to come anyway. We wore our Bridge Watch T-shirts, obviously. Joe and I very much fans of this project, especially towards the end of it. And again, just what a great day for this town.
Oh, it's just super great, and before you know it, one of these days we'll have a ribbon cutting on Scott Miller Hill project.
We'll be there.
What kind of a bridge watch we could do? A hill watch?
Yeah, I'll tell you, and everybody in our community, everybody in our county, people probably don't think of this often enough, but there's very few people who think and talk roads. When I'm dealing with the highway folks in Charleston, I talk, most of the road projects I talk about are Roane County roads. We need more people talking issues of Roane County roads.
Yeah, right.
And, years ago you had a group who dealt with that kind of thing and worked on that kind of thing. Really don't have that anymore. There's fewer of us left, I think, maybe is the right way to say it. But, if you got projects that's for real, and I send letters all the time to the commissioner and to people in his office about things that need fixed to make it safer travel in Roane County.
Yeah.
Because everywhere you're coming from in Roane County, you end up in Spencer, West Virginia. And so we want people to wind up in Spencer, West Virginia.
All roads lead to and through Spencer, West Virginia.
Exactly.
I'm going to ask Jimmy Riston about that. We're going to set up an interview with him on Friday morning for the station, and he said this won't be the last time he's here, so I'm excited about that.
That's great to hear.
Well, you guys, I'm going to tell you, you guys do a great job, and I've said this time and time again, that you are our eyes and ears of Roane County, and I mean that, and I'm so glad that you're up there on that hill, and I want you to stay on that hill and be a big part of everything that happens.
Yeah, he's got to talk me into it. Yeah. Mayor, thank you very, very much.
Now, Mayor, I have one complaint before we finish up. All right. I want to know why, during Bridge Watch, Drew and I was sitting on the roof of the T-Mobile building, but you were sitting in the warm comfort of your home, keeping us informed. Thank you very much for that. But why you didn't join us in that fun festivity?
I'm afraid of heights. Yeah, if it hadn't been up high, I'd been right there with you.
Okay.
Yeah. Stayed all night with you.
Yeah. No, thank you very much.
Thank you,
guys.
sir. Thank you. Well, that was a heck of a ride.
Oh, gosh, it was crazy.
I'll bet the number of people that see this today, what you're doing is going to be.
Oh, yeah.